Shalom Israel, this is Brother Abdiah from Yahweh's Messengers. Before I start, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kadash, double honors to the elders and apostles in Israel who rule and teach well, to the Akims and the Iwas and Byways pushing this word in truth and sincerity. Now this is the Archbishop of Canterbury, and the title of the video that is on is Justin Welby says church is providing hope and comfort during coronavirus crisis, and this was an interview that he had with the ITV news system over here. Now we know from the scriptures that hope and comfort comes from the scriptures. That's where we find the word of the Most High. And you're going to find out this brother, or this Archbishop I should say, his title is the Most Reverend. He doesn't pull any scriptures at all to answer any of the questions. And we know the scriptures lets us know that if any man gonna speak, especially being or someone who's meant to be a man of God, it says if any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of God. So I just want to go through this video and just show the hypocrisy of it all. Alright.
But we have to recognize that the church is reinventing itself with this time. We're probably getting 10 times as many people online as we had physically coming to the churches. And I think that says something about the national mood and national morale and people wanting some comfort and hope in these difficult times.
Now, he said that there's 10 times more people online than when the church was actually open. And that's just showing hypocrisy in itself from the people, because if they really did believe in God, they would have been going to church when it was open. They wouldn't wait for there to be a disaster before they turn to the Most High. So this is Job, and they're not even turning to the Lord anyway, because if everything went back to normal tomorrow, that online subscription will go down. It will go back to what it was. And this is Job chapter 8 verse 13. So are the paths of all that forget God, and the hypocrites' hope shall perish. So he's talking about them seeking hope in these times. It says the hypocrites' hope shall perish. And why are they being called hypocrites? Because when the church was open, none of them weren't really going to church. Now there's a lockdown because of this virus situation. If the church was open, the 10% increase that he said is now online, they'll be going to church. But they're only online because the church is shut, and this is the only way of them sort of quote unquote seeking God. But the scripture says, so are the paths of all that forget God, and the hypocrite's hope shall perish, whose hope shall be cut off, and whose trust shall be a spider's web. So them turning to seek God now, that trouble's at hand, it's not going to help them. They need to be seeking him whilst he may be found. And whilst he may be found, they were doing their own thing. Like it says, in the days of Noah, they were eating and drinking, giving in marriage. They were doing their own thing till it was too late. And the same thing in this situation here. As the Most High starts to lay judgment upon the earth, this is when people want to seek God. Now, as a man of God, he should be drawing from the scriptures. But so far, he's not drawing any scriptures.
You're joining Pope Francis in a global moment of prayer this morning. Where is God in all of this? This is a natural disaster. Why is it happening?
God.
And she's saying it like to say, well, they've been serving God, and God is letting them down. And she's asking, where is God in all of this? Well, at the end of the day, this is from God. If you knew the Most High, you know that what's happening now with this coronavirus, this is from God. And the scriptures in Job 9 and 24, it says the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. And with that said, this is Psalms 50 and 16, because she wants to know where is God. So the scripture says, but unto the wicked God saith, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes, or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth, seeing thou hatest instruction and casteth my words behind thee. So when she's asking where's God in all of this, you don't like instructions. You've given a doctrine that says we're not under the law, when the scripture tells you to keep my commandments and live. So when the Lord is bringing judgment, he can't really be asking, where is God in all of this? But let's see what his answer is.
Comes into the middle of it. He's alongside us. He's with us. He's suffering with us. He's weeping with us. I know that from my own experience over long years, particularly at times such as the loss of a child or other moments of trauma and terror.
Now, he said that God is suffering with us, he's weeping with us, but we just read in Psalms 50 and 6, seeing that 50 and 17, it says, seeing thou hatest instructions and cast my words behind thee. So let's see if God is really weeping because you hate instruction. And let's see what God has to say about that. The people that hate instruction, let's see if he's actually weeping with them. This is Proverbs chapter 1 and verse 25. But ye have set at naught all my counsel, and would none of my reproof. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh. So when we read the scriptures, and she's asking, where is God? And he's saying, God is weeping with us, and so forth. The Most High is laughing at your calamity that he has sent at the end of the day. It's lucky Israel. Turn that on. The Most High is laughing and is mocking, because when he's giving you reproof, he's giving you his word, you've got the scriptures at your disposal, but you despise everything that's written in it. So when he throws calamity your way, he's not crying with you or any of that. He's laughing and he's mocking. Let's continue.
Has Boris Johnson given good leadership in this crisis, do you think? What do you make of it?
Now, that's another question. Is he giving good leadership? Let's see what the scripture says before we listen to his answer. Now, we know the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. When we read, what's this? When we read Job 9 and 24. So let's see if Boris Johnson is giving good leadership according to the scriptures. This is Proverbs chapter 29 verse 2. It says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. And this is one of the reasons why there's a 10% increase on the online people that's listening to the church, because the wicked are in authority and they're not bearing rule right. The people are mourning. So it says, when the righteous are in authority, the righteous will be the Israelites. And in that day, it will be the elect of Israel that will be ruling. It says the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. And this is why the Most High is bringing judgment upon the earth at the moment. Because the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, and they're not bearing rule righteously. But let's see what he has to say.
I think he has risen to the challenge. Nobody's perfect, but he is doing a really, really good job. And he's caring about the future of this country. Everyone will make mistakes in these circumstances. We need to be a forgiving country, understanding that there often are no simple right answers. In fact, there never are simple right answers in this case.
What do you say?
So he said we need to be a forgiving and a caring country. It's like these scriptures ain't really working in his favour today. This is Jeremiah chapter 49 and 12. Slakia. This is Amos chapter 1:11. It says, thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgression of Edom, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword, and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever. Now that doesn't sound like someone that's forgiving. When it says his wrath, he kept his wrath forever. So everything he's saying, the scriptures ain't really working in his favour. And this is how you know that he's not really a man of God, because if he was, he would have pulled at least one scripture by now.
What do you say to those who are not complying with the rules on social distancing, Archbishop?
Get your act together. If you are not complying, you are risking other people's lives, not just your own. You are risking the health service collapsing. Do it. Stick with the rules. And the sooner we do that, the sooner we can end this period of deep darkness, and we can have the mother and father of all parties at the end of it.
Now, I do agree with what he said there in the sense of getting your act together, you know, and she was asking about not sticking to the rules of separation. Well, the scriptures speak about separation. So yes, we should get our act together. And this is Sirach chapter 6 verse 13. It says, separate thyself from thine enemies and take heed of thy friends. So, you know, like she said again, let me quickly rewind that and get a question.
What do you say to those who are not complying with the rules on social distancing, Archbishop?
That's it, social distancing. So this is social distancing for Israelites in the scriptures. I read it again. Sirach chapter 6, verse 13. Separate thyself from thine enemies, that's social distancing, and take heed of thy friends. So, you know, like he said, we're going to listen to his response. His response is right, but, you know, we need to take heed. You know, us as Israelites need to take heed of his response in alignance with this scripture here. So,
get your act together.
Yeah, that's the first thing we need to do, get our act together.
If you are not complying, you are risking other people's lives, not just your own.
Well, if we don't comply, we are risking our lives. Other people's lives, well, you know, these other people, they've got judgment coming, these other nations. So if you don't get your act together and practice the social distancing that the Most High puts in the scriptures, you know, Sirach 6 and 13, then you are endangering your own life.
You are risking the health service collapsing. Do it. Stick with the rules.
Yep, stick with the rules. Separate thyself from thine enemies.
And the sooner we do that,
the sooner we do that,
the sooner we can end this period of deep darkness.
You hear that? The sooner we imply Sirach 6 and 13, separate thyself from thine enemies, the sooner we can end this deep darkness.
And we can have the mother and father of all parties at the end of it.
And that sounds beautiful.
What are your thoughts on how this could alter our society forever?
We don't know what this is going to look like, what we're going to look like at the end. There is an opportunity here.
And the scripture does kind of give us an insight to that. Where is it? Give me a second. Which one of these? Come on. Don't tell me I've moved my scripture. Oh, yeah. So here's an insight as to what it's going to look like in the end. This is Jeremiah chapter 49 verse 12, because he said he doesn't really know what it's going to look like in the end. So, and this is the beautiful thing about the scriptures. The Most High tells us the end from the beginning. So if he was really a man of the Lord, you know, he's got what they call a dog collar on. And the men of the Lord don't wear dog collars because we've got nothing to do with dogs. Yeah, but if he really was a man of the Lord, he will know that the scriptures give us the end from the beginning. And he will know what the end result is. This is Jeremiah 49 and 12. It says, for thus saith the Lord, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup as assuredly drunken. And that's speaking about us Israelites. We weren't meant to drink of the cup that the Most High dished out. But because of our disobedience, we surely did drink. And art thou he that shall altogether go unpunished? Thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. So the end judgment is that the same cup that we drank out of, you're going to drink out of that cup. Because when we read Zechariah 1 and 15, it says that the Most High was only a little bit displeased with us, but he helped forward the affliction. So for your part, you're not going to go unpunished. And that's the end result. So let me drop that back again, try and get that question from her.
What are your thoughts on how this could alter our society forever?
We don't know what this is going to look like, what we're going to look like at the end. There is an opportunity here. There is a moment of saying we will learn from this that the things ways in which we can love each other and care for each other are far greater than our divisions. I mean, this puts the whole Brexit controversy in perspective when we're with people whose lives are at risk day by day.
Now, there's another scripture I want to pull out to touch the end result. And this is Job chapter 15, verse 34. It says, "For the congregation of hypocrites shall be desolate." So this is another end result. You know, you're not going to go unpunished. And it says, "The congregation of hypocrites shall be desolate, and fire shall consume the tabernacles of bribery." So, and that's that nuclear fire. So that's the end result that's coming, you know, desolation by fire. And if you was reading the scriptures, you'd know all this.
And people are coming together in the most beautiful and wonderful way. Let's keep doing that and put our differences behind us.
Well, that's what he says. Now I'm going to finish off with these scriptures. You know, he said we should come together and put our differences behind us. But like we just read in Jeremiah 49 and 12, "You shall not go unpunished." Now this is Acts chapter 5 verse 29. Since he didn't want to read from the scriptures, someone has to. It says, "Then Peter and the other apostles answered and said, we ought to obey God rather than man." And this is what we have to do at the end of the day. We need to obey the Most High rather than man. The Lord has given us the end from the beginning. So we know what the end result is. And for us to avoid the desolation that he's going to bring, you know, we just read that in Job 15:34, we need to obey God rather than man. Now, if you don't want to do that, Jeremiah 17 and 5, it says, "Thus saith the Lord, cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm, and whose heart departeth from the Lord." And we know that these people that was going to church, they had forgotten God. It's only when he started to lay down strokes, all of a sudden, you know, they're running towards the Lord. But as we started off with one of the scriptures, "But unto the wicked, what hast thou to do to take my covenant in thy mouth, seeing thou hatest instructions?" So we can't be trusting in man. You know, we can't put in our trust in flesh. We need to put our trust in the Lord. Now, this one is Jeremiah chapter 23 and 21. It says, "I have not sent these prophets." Yeah. You know, this is one of Esau's prophets. You know, he's meant to be a man of the Lord. But the scripture says, "I have not sent these prophets, yet they ran. I have not spoken to them, yet they prophesied." And any prophesying he did, even when she asked him, you know, why is God doing all of this? All his prophesying was of his own head. He didn't come out of nothing in the scriptures. You know, like it says in 1 Peter chapter 4 and 11, "If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of God." Meaning, if you're going to say the Most High says this, read it from the scriptures and use the words of the Most High. But he did none of that. And that's us trusting in man and making flesh up, you know. Where is it? Jeremiah 17 and 5. You know, it says, "Cursed be, thus saith the Lord, cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm, whose heart, whose mind, depart from the Lord." And we can't be doing that, because we'll be listening to prophets who the Most High never sent. You know, if he did send them, they'll be speaking, "Thus saith the Lord." So, with that, I'm going to close out with this. It's Hebrews 13 and 8. "Yahweh Shai Mashiach, the same yesterday and today and forever." So everything we read in the scriptures, you know, the Lord don't change. You know, he does not change. If he says, "If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of God," that's what he means. We have to speak, thus saith the Lord. And this prophet, Esau's prophet, is not coming in the name of the Lord. And with that, I'm going to close out. I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kadash, Kwame Asher Allah.